been their first day. It could have been more. Well, he was, yeah, been there 6 months.
Join with this one, it's a different aspect.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is, this is coming up on the start.
Yeah.
Kim's
Yeah, I understand that.
He's finished the introduction now, he's going to come on, comes up onto the spot to this platform, and then I shall
Yes.
I can just
right.
I used to be on campus.
Yeah. Have you always visited a good place? Have you ever seen that? My younger daughter, we went to dinner last night. I don't know what conversation she said. I kind of like the last episode where they talk about death. Is being part of things. I think it must. I think it's one of the last episode of the last series, which she said referred to death in terms of being part of the energy of the universe. The latest physics is yeah, that's right. Good ones and bad ones. Correct.
It's a subject that interests me a lot. Yes, I'm very glad to. All you've got to say.
I might have to do this next year when I do the Scandinavian death clean and have all my papers object. Not that I hope to die next year, but it's going to happen sometime. Yeah. No, he didn't. He misstepped. That's right.
When you get to a certain age, you want to have it's allowable.
Yeah.
If you fall, you're just about ready for the old folks.
Exactly.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's getting close.
My wife tripped in the garden there a few months ago. I used the wrong words. I was swiftly corrected. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not now here at my
Because it's by side. So you started about and will you be just brought out? It's a long time since you was a church like Actually, I was only looking. Yeah, we went to
Good evening, everyone. Fergus right up the back. Fantastic. I'm Kim Bills and I'm emceeing this evening, and you're extremely welcome this coolish evening. We're absolutely delighted that the Reverend Anne Butler is here to speak to us about how we deal with the reality of death, which is a very important topic, and I'm certainly looking forward to it. You will have seen that you had a call to minister, not dying particularly, not tonight at least. Looking forward to the presentation. And if you really enjoy the presentation, we have new rating cards that are at the back, because all you have to do is tick. There's a green, yellow, orange and red face. So tick or cross, indicate whichever one you think is appropriate, and you can, definitely not, and you can write comments, although they'll probably be ranked 4 to 1 and then averaged so that we have probably a mean, but anyway, that's up to Don this evening. So Anne was called to ministry at 15, which is pretty extraordinary, ordained at 28, and is about to finish up at Newland and Port Elliot on Sunday, and the following week at Seaford, I can't read my own writing, and the 1st of June she's going to be inducted as the Minister in Placement, is that the correct terminology, at Morialta. Minister of the Word. Minister in Placement, fantastic. So she's fitted us in despite all these exciting things that are happening. Before I hand over to Anne, let me acknowledge the Ghana country on which we meet, and particularly acknowledge the elders past and present, and the fact that the land we meet on has never been ceded and their spiritual sovereignty flows through the generations. So we enjoy acknowledging that in this church. So without further ado, let me invite Anne to the podium. Thank you.
Hello. Hello, people online. See me. Well, when you get a call from Esmond Dowdy, you know something's up. And he said, I hear that you're doing things about death down in Victor Harbour. So I said, well, yes. We have a coffin club. Now, some of my ladies in particular are horrified that we call it coffin club. But I tell them it's not to attract them. It's to attract people to our church who think, wonder what they're on about. So I'm going to take you through, basically, our introductory session of Coffin Club. We have run Coffin Club in 6 sessions. We've run it twice over 6 weeks in an afternoon or an evening. And this year for the first time, well, beginning in November, we've run it once a month and got quite a different group of people for whom that suited much better. So here we go. Enabling all of us to be happy with the inevitable. In week 1, we do the big picture. What is death? Why do we fear it? And what can help us deal with the big picture? Now, sometimes I put on a clip that I have that some of our ladies take exception to. She's a bit vampire-y would be the best way to describe her. She's a death educator from the United States. She's come up with, next slide please, Jen. So in the first week, we look at introducing ourselves. The bottom drawer book, I'm passing on your wishes. Anyone seen a copy of the bottom drawer book? I'm going to suggest you look it up. You're going to meet the author of it a bit later on. No expense spared. It's a great little book. One of my ladies was worried that it had coffee stains on the pages and she thought it was used. I'm saying, no, that's just to make you feel more comfortable with it. So it looks well loved. And you get to write everything in it that you want people to know once you're gone, and you keep it in the bottom drawer, which works even if you're in a nursing home. You're going to have drawers and there's going to be a bottom one. So, more about that later. What are the aims of Coffin Club? Originally, it was to build our coffins or make our shrouds. Have I convinced anyone to do that yet? No. However, I have people who are counting on me to build their coffins, so I'm hoping they're going to last a very long time because I haven't got round to it yet. Next, please. Famous last words. COVID-19 is a hoax, like the flu, all under control, gone by April, it'll just disappear. Lots of test kits. Yes. I just thought that was topical. We've all survived COVID. Now, this is according to Caitlin Doughty. She's the woman just a little bit vampire-y. These are the 7 reasons to fear death. 1, I don't want to cause grief to my family and my friends. 2, all of my plans and projects will come to an end. 3, dying might be painful. 4, it'll be the end of all the wonderful experiences I've had in my life. 5, who will care for my dependents? 6, I'm worried about life after death. Am I going up? Am I going down? Maybe there's nothing. And 7, worried about what will happen to my body after I die. So, leaving those up, which one best sums up your fear of death? Number 4. It'll be the end of your experiences. For me, it's number 2. All those jobs, I've got a list a mile long, so long that I may never die. Anyone worried it's going to be painful? That's a common fear. Because sometimes it is. And if you've nursed someone through a death, even worse. Anyone worried about life after death?
No, but I do worry about what's talked about in funerals.
Right.
And most occasions there are a lot of people there who are not church people, relatives and so on. And I think it's so simplistically put, and people don't go for it these days, I don't think.
Any other fears?
It's on number 7.
Number 7, you're worried about your body.
Yes.
One of our daughters has decided she's donating her body to the body farm in New South Wales, where she will slowly decompose and they will analyse how the maggots are eating her to work out the age of people, you know, how long people have been dead that they find buried in a shallow grave in bushland. That is her aim.
I think very similar, actually. I'm a vermiculturalist, and I was thinking about having my own farm. It's near the, but I don't have a farm anymore, so I don't have to worry.
Anyone worried about their dependents? Or we're all pretty sure that they're off our hands by now. Okay. But sometimes older people have disabled children or grandchildren that they care for. And sometimes your spouse is dependent upon you and you don't want to die before them.
I don't like the idea of dying on my own, nobody knowing.
Yep. I had a very memorable funeral once where the woman had died and had been 8 days during a heat wave in a little flat. She smelt so bad we couldn't have her body in the funeral. And I had agreed to go in the hearse to the cemetery. Oh, you've never smelt anything like it. It is absolutely a nerve-wracking smell. It is so bad. Don't die on your own, okay? Phone someone, you know. Okay. Next, please. And the next. Right. 2 things. I'm going to throw you 3 clips tonight. I should have shown you the second one first, but this is the first one. Do you know Miriam Margolyes? She's a portly old lady. I'm not sure, old woman I think would be a better term. She's no lady. She lives in Australia now. She's a comedian and she does a lot of travel shows and interviews people. She's fascinated by people. She's in her 80s. One time she was in this lovely town of Hastings on the south coast of England, and she went to visit a coffin club. Now this coffin club get their coffins in like an IKEA flat pack from a company in Holland, in the Netherlands. A little too expensive for us to bring them out here, but you'll see how they assembled them. This is Miriam Margolyes.
I was on the south coast
We're back. So, how are we doing for sound? That's okay? I don't want to frighten anyone. Right, so what did you learn from Miriam? They're designed with these curved bits to join two pieces together. I feel I'd feel more confident in a single long piece of wood than one that's been joined in the middle. You don't want the bottom to fall out when they're carrying you through the church, you know. It's not a good look. Seepage, that's an important thing. You need to have protection. There we go. Anything surprise you about Miriam at the Hastings Coffin Club? I was surprised she hit her head on the way in. I thought that's not a good look. No? She did, yes. Coffins come in different sizes and you need a little bit of room. You're probably not going to grow much. My mother was very big on getting something for you to grow into. I don't think you're going to need that. But you don't want to be feeling cramped, you know, I think, if you're looking at getting to the next life.
How many people do sort out a coffin while they're still alive?
A lot more than you think. It's a common thing in places like China and Africa to have your coffin made and store it in the rafters of your house because you can't trust that your young people, when they get hold of your money, are going to spend it on you. So if you want a coffin to impress people, you're going to need to get one yourself before you go. I've seen all sorts of things, how you can have one, or you'll see some other options later. In fact, round about now, we're not having a break now, but we would at Coffin Club. I love this. The doctor is introducing the Grim Reaper to the patient. It's not going to be long now. And this one, I first saw this online and I thought, yep, we need a Coffin Club. So when I saw that, I thought, yes, it's very amateur, but that's what making your own coffin is all about. You don't want one that looks like a professional made it. You want it to look like you built it out the back. I'm yet to investigate the coffin club possibilities at my next church. So they've got a men's shed, so I'm hoping we're in there. Okay. What do you wish you had known before someone you loved died? I wish I knew how my mum and dad met, because I don't know, and there's no one left to ask. Anything you want to know? Where did you hide the will? That's a good one. Wouldn't it be good to find that out before they died? I would love to know the things we find out at funerals before the funeral. I think we need to do... George Burns, the comedian, had his 100th birthday party when he was about 89 because he didn't want to miss it, just in case. I'd rather go to a birthday celebration than a funeral.
Well, you can combine the two.
You can.
We had a friend at our church who had cancer and wasn't expected to live that long, but turned 70 before she died and had a wonderful 70th birthday where people did talk about her life and so on, and she was over the moon about it, and it was really all the things you don't know about somebody till the funeral you heard about at this function, and it was a great affair.
Yeah. I would recommend that. Being present. Now, what if someone tells lies about you when they get up there? You can say, excuse me, and correct them. I'll have trouble doing that while I'm in the coffin, but I will try. Anything else you wish you'd known?
I think we don't often know what the person who's died wanted for a funeral.
At my very first church, we had an elderly lady who used to come to church, and she had a husband who didn't come to church. And when he died, she said to me, I'm terribly sorry, but he wouldn't approve of having a woman minister, so we'll need to get a male minister to bury him. I said, okay. But when she died, the family said, well, she wouldn't have a woman minister for Dad's funeral, so we have to have a man for hers as well. And I was quite hurt by that. I wasn't encouraged to participate at all, and I'd known her for years. That was very sad. But sometimes our kids are the people who know us the least. Sometimes after funerals, people come up to me and say, oh, you didn't mention this, and you didn't mention this, and you didn't... It's because their kids didn't know those things. They had a whole secret life that they didn't tell their children, or the children weren't paying attention. I'm not sure which one.
My husband died of heart. We didn't know he had a heart condition, but because he died of a heart condition, multiple family members have had their hearts examined.
That's good stuff, isn't it?
And we found the heart condition that he had in others.
Right. Did he pass it on to his children?
Well, they were the first ones tested. And we found all sorts of heart conditions.
Oh, they take me very seriously because my dad died of a heart attack at 52, so they take me seriously when I got chest pain. Not been my heart up till now. There you go. Anything else you wish you'd known?
I wish I'd known that there was something called a body bag,
Mhm.
because one of my saddest memories of my mother's death, which was 12 years ago now, my sister and I were called up to the nursing home because they said she died during the night. And we could stay with her as long as we wanted to, which was lovely of them. But then the undertakers rang to say that the people coming to collect her were on their way. And when they arrived, they were the most unkempt, untidy couple of men I have ever seen in my life, and proceeded to ask us to leave the room while they put my mother in a body bag.
Mhm.
And I was horrified. I had no perception that she would ever be put in such a thing. You know, body bags were for war and
Yep.
accidents, and not for people dying in nursing homes, let alone your mother. And I said, no, we're not leaving the room, we'll stay. And the nursing staff wouldn't let us. And I was really upset about that. I thought, what is it about this process that we're not allowed to be present and watch and maybe even assist? No. So I wish that I'd known about that, or that was protocol for them.
Well, yes. A lot of people think you have to have a funeral director, you have to pay for an expensive coffin. You know, it's very, very big business. Most of the funeral companies in Australia are controlled by two different big overseas companies, the multinationals. If you want a McDonald's funeral, cardboard boxes now, not the polystyrene ones. It is. You do have, if you're going to have a funeral director, you need to convince them that it's sound, that it's not going to fall apart halfway through, which is going to be embarrassing. It's going to stand up to the rigours of making it wherever you go in the hearse, you know. But like in the clip, a lot of funeral directors are more than happy for eco-friendly hippie funerals. So if you're an old hippie, there may still be a place for you. Okay, next, thanks, June. Have you ever thought how you would prefer to die? Just drop dead? Not so kind on your family, if you're going to do that. Not wake up is an option a lot of people want. Comfortable. There's a number of jokes about this. The person who says, you know, I'm so glad that my father died peacefully in his sleep, unlike the passengers in the bus he was driving. Or the three elderly men talking, and the 70-year-old says to the other two, well, how do you want to die? He says, well, I think I would like to be hit by a speeding train. And the 80-year-old says, no, I just want to die peacefully in my sleep. And the 90-year-old thinks for a while and says, no, I'd like to be shot by a jealous husband. If you got to choose, what would you choose? Who would be there? Some people want to die alone. They're surrounded by people in the nursing home, in the hospital, and when everybody leaves, that's when they die. So although I've been an aged care chaplain, although I've had two parents die, I have only once been present as a person died It's very unusual. I'm glad I was there, but how would you like to die? There's a big move for dying at home, whether your home is a room in a nursing home. People don't want to die with all sorts of wires and tubes. They just want to say, it's now time to go, and just relax. I think that'd be pretty good.
Is there a sense in which people can make it happen for themselves?
Well, one of the churches I'm at now is very interested in helping people with voluntary assisted dying. The rules are incredibly strict. They will probably get less strict as time goes on. At the moment, everyone is terrified that people are going to bump off their ageing relatives. Of course, that's not what voluntary assisted dying is about. Unfortunately, if you have dementia, and that's about 30% of people who die in Australia die with dementia, by dementia, that you're not considered of sound mind and able to make that decision. So you would need to make the decision to end your life a few years earlier, and that can be very tricky because the rules in South Australia are you must have a diagnosis that you'll be dead within 6 months.
Those laws are continually trying to be changed, though,
Well, they've not been around for that long, that they finally got through the Parliament in South Australia. Interstate, there are often rules that you can't move interstate to have voluntary assisted dying, so only locals need apply. I'm not sure why that is. I think they don't want people moving interstate for the purposes of dying, I think. It looks bad on the promos for the tourists.
the whole thing about dementia, they're definitely trying to get that changed so that you can actually make a statement officially.
And that may be possible sometime down the track. I think, having seen my mother die with dementia, I think if I had dementia, I would be very tempted to go down the line of voluntary assisted dying. Some cancers are horrendous. People who are gulping for air at the end, it's just... Death for a lot of medical people is seen as failure, so they will try and do everything they can to keep you alive, even if that is against your own wishes. So having some form of advanced care directive that when to turn the machines off, when to refuse resuscitation. Some people get it tattooed on their chest. DNR. Do not resuscitate. I think if you were in hospital and they ripped your clothes off to give you the zap and it said DNR, they may well do it anyway. But if you've written it down, they're less likely to prolong that and allow you to die, like we've always done. It's a problem both at this end of life and the other end of life. When is it too much to try and keep people alive? Babies can be born at 23 weeks gestation and still survive. Because we can medically do it, does that mean we should do it? At the other end of life, you may continue for another 6 months in pain and not knowing where you are. Is that a good thing for our society, or is dying with dignity important? Sometimes people explain to me how they want to die, who will be here and who will be there, who will be holding which hand, and I think, good luck with that. It may not work out how you planned it. you don't have to go off to a fridge in a funeral parlour either, or the mortuary at the hospital. You can go home. The problem in Australia is we have quite warm weather. You can get a cooling plate to lie on. It's like a fridge, your own personal fridge. I know there's some summer days when I think that would be excellent. I'm actually thinking that every church should have one and lend it to people. Well, when we were driving in Ireland only a few years ago, on the local radio at 5 o'clock every night, they give the descriptions of whose funeral is the next day, where they are now in their home, which route they will be travelling to the church, and then where they will go from the church to the cemetery. Because people in Ireland will still stand on the footpath and remove their hats and watch the coffin go by. Huge respect for death from a people used to people dying. We Anglo-Saxons are not so comfortable. We want to outsource the cleaning of the body, the storage, the place. You could lie in state in your own living room on a couple of trestles in your homemade coffin. That may be much preferable to paying a vast amount of money to people who never met you before, don't respect you as a human being. I like the Irish way better. Many years ago I saw a program on TV, probably SBS, about how different races, different countries coped with death. Indian families, all the female relatives will gather together and wash the body and dress the body. And the male relatives, if they're not being cremated on a funeral pyre, will go and dig the hole. I'm sure that used to happen in country South Australia. I can remember someone saying to me, you know, from her parents who grew up in Scotland, don't send us to a funeral parlour. We don't want to lie there with strangers. That's not the Scottish way of doing things. We want to be surrounded by family when we've gone. One of the good things is you get tips from people. This is one of the biggest tips I ever got. On the next slide. About to introduce you to a woman called Lisa Herbert. She lives in Queensland. She's a journalist. She'll introduce herself. And we use her book, the Bottom Drawer book. In fact, the price I charge you to come to Coffin Club is mainly the cost of the book. So here she is.
Relates to the topic.
Then we talk about other things. Getting ready to go. There we go. Let there be light. What is dying like? Lots of people are very frightened about dying. They're worried about it being painful. They're worried about being alone. Talking about some of those things, writing down what your wishes are in your advanced care directive. And if you don't know enough about that, you need to come to the next session where we look at the legal aspects. Next slide, please. Talking about wills, enduring power of attorney, advanced care directives. These are things you have to put in place while you are still of sound mind, because you will be tested by the person who signs the certified copies for you. You're going to need to get about 6 copies of your advanced care directive, so you can leave one with your doctor, one with your nursing home, one with your favourite child, you know, spread it out. Much more likely to happen if someone has got an advanced care directive that's been correctly witnessed. The next week, next slide please, we look at coffins, eco-coffins. We 2 years ago made a trip out to Gawler where there is an eco-coffin project, and they'd prepared all these beautiful shrouds, wonderful cardboard coffins, all painted with poems on them, lovely images of flowers and butterflies. We have a local supplier of cardboard coffins in Port Elliot. I'm sure if you Googled cardboard coffins, you can get one for about $400. That's a lot for a bit of cardboard. I'm sure next time you get a fridge delivered, I'm sure you could whip one up at half the cost. I'm investigating. We had a Muslim woman attending from Indonesia, and I bought a piece of my favourite quilting material, and it's all acanthus leaves in different colours, and I lay on the floor with it, and she wrapped me as if I was in a shroud. You really only need a queen-size bed sheet. You've got a shroud. You wrap it up like a baby, you know, pull a foot bit in, wrap one side over, pop the top bit over your head. You don't do that with the baby generally. Then wrap the other side round and tuck it in. A waterproof lining is recommended. You're going to seep. You don't want that. Okay. Then I bumped into someone who said, oh yes, I often paint coffins for customers, so you can get a professional to paint your coffin, or you can get together with some friends and paint your own. Sometimes for young people who've died unexpectedly, the family gets a simple coffin and they get all the friends together and they paint it together and they write their farewells, and it can be really beautiful. It can be part of contributing to their trip to the next life. It's very healing. We are so good at outsourcing that we think none of these things should ever happen. What kind of a send-off do I want? We had a woman who died in Victor Harbour when I was there the first time, and she was a single woman. She had a bit of money, so she paid for the crow's balloons to be attached to the coffin. She went up the aisle to going up to the spirit in the sky. That's where I want to go when I die. It's perfectly suitable for a funeral. And then she paid for a wake at the hotel, and then fireworks. Brilliant. She wasn't in the fireworks, but you know, that's something you can arrange, by the way. Your ashes can be scattered over a wide area. Next, please. We look at what kind of funeral. Do you have to have a funeral? I think funerals are very important, and that's not just because I get paid to do them. A friend of mine died and didn't have a funeral. I felt so cheated. Not that I do enjoy jelly cakes and little sandwiches afterwards, but to not be able to go there and say, I loved you in your life. It's becoming more common for people not to have a funeral. I don't think it's healthy. I think it creates, we need that time to say goodbye, even if we're doing it online.
But you can have a small funeral, but then have a full goodbye to Graham meeting, which all the things you're thinking about now, can happen.
Indeed. More and more, we are having memorial services where the person who has died is not present or is present as ash. And that's becoming, it's so much cheaper, much easier to carry around someone in an urn than in a coffin. You'd be surprised by that, wouldn't you? We've had some people die when I've been the minister of the church, and they haven't had the funeral in the church, which of course we would have done for free, but they had a prepaid funeral, and the cost of moving the body to the church and then back to the funeral parlour was more than the money they had set aside. So that didn't happen. And that's a tragedy for Christian communities. We want to farewell people. We want to say we loved you. We want to tell their family, if they have a family, that we love them. The last week is talking about the afterlife, and I did a bit of research about this. Basically, the afterlife goes back to the Egyptians. The Egyptians were very big on the afterlife, particularly for rich people. I don't know if some Americans are a bit like that as well, but the idea that everything you need needs to be with you when you die, because you're going to need the boat to get across the river. With the slaves rowing, you're going to need, food. Honey was put in with you. Honey keeps for millennia. It's just not always runny. I always like runny. I don't like candied honey. I would love for us to do a public art exhibition like they do at Gawler. It's a long way out for people from Victor to get to Gawler, but it's not impossible, and you could go by train if you park at Seaford, you see, all the way. But talking about afterlife is very interesting. I occasionally do a secular funeral as a favour to someone. I hate secular funerals. But the gentleman who had died was the brother-in-law of someone I knew, and I said I would do the funeral. And they wanted no mention of God, no mention of any kind of afterlife at all. I said, okay, I could do that. Then, as he was lying in the coffin and it was open, they put a puzzle book and a pen in his hand. Now, you can't tell me they didn't believe there would be a next life where puzzles would help to pass the time. They didn't give him a torch. I really think a torch is vital. I am told that Frank Sinatra's daughter made sure she put some dimes in the coffin with him in case he wanted to make a phone call. So you've got to plan for these things. We also look at what songs you want at your funeral. Do you have a favourite hymn? Is it still appropriate? I hate funerals that sing My Way, talking of Frank Sinatra. It's such an arrogant song. I can't stand it. It sounds like I did it all myself. No, we do things in community. We stand on the shoulders of giants. Don't have my way, or abide with me. Can't stand it. But I'm open to a number of secular songs. Memory from Cats is beautiful. All kinds of music from films is most appropriate. It's up to you. Write down what you want. If you get a copy of the book and there's two of you sharing it, just write in different colour pen. And if you want to change it the following week, in 10 years' time, whatever, white it out and write it in again. Think of the gift that would be to your family to know they were doing the things that you wanted, or conversely, doing the things you didn't want, but they knew why they were doing it. So many families, particularly of a sudden death, are completely at a loss. What would they want? Is it necessary to have a male minister? Nobody asked that question anymore. Pardon?
Where do you get the book?
Well, I sell them. I think I should get a commission, but I don't. They're $29.95 on the internet. So if you type in bottom drawer book, you'll be attracted to the site for Lisa Herbert, and she will post one to you from the post office where the girl with the tattoo of the 3 deaths is. I think that's marvellous. She lives in Queensland. It's local business. She's doing it to help people, and you can get things like this from your funeral director, but it's not nearly as much fun.
The website is thebottomdrawbook.com.au.
thebottomdrawbook.com.au. If you Google Lisa Herbert, you'll get there too. I think she's a really genuine person out to help people, so I recommend it. If you don't want to spend it, get a piece of paper and write down, this is what I would like to happen to me before I die. During that death time, do you want aromatherapy? I was asked that when my mother was dying. I thought, she has had dementia for the last 15 years. I don't think a smell is going to make a difference. But what would I know? That's my presentation. Oh, look, nearly time. Are there any questions?
And can you just mention or talk about for a minute about the digital legacy, because I don't know that you mentioned that, and that is one that we do cover.
Okay. As we were going along, people said, oh, you must put this in, you must put that in. Anyone who goes to a probus will give you information you need to tell people. And we had a wonderful young man come from the NBN to talk about your digital legacy. What's that, you may be wondering? Well, if you have a Facebook page, or whatever the Instagram equivalent is, I don't speak that very well, what will happen to it when you die? And he actually explained what happened in his family when his father died quite suddenly. They didn't do anything with his Facebook page. And every year on his birthday, people who live interstate who don't know that he has died send him birthday greetings. His mother was horrified. She didn't know what to do. She didn't want a whole lot of people consoling her again. She was just recovering. And yet, this is now 15 years since he's died, and every birthday he gets greetings from people who think he is still alive. His mother thinks, I can't tell them now. It's too late. They'll be horrified that I didn't tell them right at the beginning, when she didn't have enough oomph to do that. He says, besides having someone to take an executor of your will, you need a digital executor. Someone you can entrust the passwords to all your accounts. That's becoming more and more that we have these restrictions. we had a house once with students living in it, and the girl whose name was on all the bills had returned to Canada, and I didn't have a forwarding address for her. There was amount owing, and I phoned up and said, I would like to put the electricity into my name. I can prove I am the owner of the house. I want to pay the bill from now on. Oh no, we can't do that. Why not? She has to give permission. I said, she's gone back to Canada. I don't have a forwarding address. I said, I'm sorry, we can't help you. So I said, what about if she died? And they said, oh, well, if she died, that would be fine. Then you could take over the account. I said, okay, she has died. And they let me take over the account. There you go. You have to have a sense of humour, because if you don't laugh, you will cry. Do we have any other questions? Kim, feel free.
Wind up and have questions with tea and coffee in the other room, if that's okay.
That's fine.
My naughty thoughts tonight, when you talked about fridge boxes, I did think that you have to be very careful that they fit into a crematorium door.
Yes.
You don't want a very large fridge box.
No, I think you need to sculpt it to your own personal dimensions.
Correct. So, yes, bear that in mind should you be thinking that as you leave this evening. But look, it's been brilliant what you've spoken about, and I've certainly had plenty of actually sensible thoughts as well, I hope.
And very sensible thought. If you can't fit in the crematorium door, it's going to be a problem.
Correct. That's right. So, but look, thank you very much, and we wish you very well in your 2 farewells.
Thank you.
Your induction at 2:00 on the 1st of June.
Yes, everyone's welcome.
At Morialta.
I'm sure there will be jelly cakes and sandwiches, and I haven't died
And
yet.
I don't think there are jelly cakes and sandwiches out there, but we'd love to speak to you afterwards. So join me in thanking Anne.
Thank you.
And I haven't forgotten the cards, nor have I forgotten the next forum, which is now being shown, what might Christians learn from the Baha'i faith. So that is Tom Price on the 5th of June, the first Thursday in June. So thank you very much for coming. For those of you online who've persevered, thank you very much. Sorry the questions were organic, but that kind of worked tonight. Please enjoy tea.